Hey, this is the C&D channel. I'm Chris, and this is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for Strikeforce Henderson versus Fedor. I didn't do really well in my picks here. I got 2 of 5 of the main card correct. I got Safadine winning, Kennedy winning. I got the other ones wrong. There's 5 prelims. I only did predictions for 4 of them. I got 2 of 2 from there. So definitely not my best predictions this time. I didn't take into account how sloppy Fedor's looked in his last fights, jumping into a triangle against Verdum, looking generally sloppy against Bigfoot. I undervalued the fact that I kind of thought that Marlos Kunin would get taken down a lot, and I overvalued that Tate would. The ring rust would have affected her. Daly versus Woodley, Daly did really well, but I want to get into that later. So let's start with Tarek Safadine beating Scott Smith by unanimous decision. 3 losses in a row for Scott Smith. At 170, I mean, he looks lethargic to me. This guy has no movement. I mean, I like Scott Smith, but he mainly wins with heart, with grit, and he has a lot of power in his punches, but he doesn't really have a lot of technique. And Safadine, he's 24, definitely a prospect to look out for, man. I mean, yeah, he lost to Woodley not too long ago, but I mean, he didn't look terrible or anything like that. He shows good takedown defense. Against Scott Smith, I mean, he'd use range really well, and he threw combinations. I really like that too. He started a lot of his things with the jab. Honestly, I want to say Safadine, out of all the main card fighters that should have been using a jab, he was like the only person using a jab that, and it's just really good to see him do that. And I don't know why other people, especially these guys like Paul Daly or Marlos Kunin, who are fighting these wrestlers, aren't utilizing movement and a jab enough to keep that type of distance. Make them shoot really far away. I gotta wonder what the weight cut does for Scott Smith. I gotta wonder about Scott Smith too, and just 3 losses in a row. I mean, where does it really fit? And Strikeforce, yeah, the welterweight division's really small, but they are actually signing a lot of guys. I mean, they keep signing new prospects and new fighters. So it's tough to say. Maybe you can get someone like Roger Bowling to fight Scott Smith or something like that. I don't know. Maybe to get Roger Bowling to win. Oh, possibly. With Safadine, I mean, the top Strikeforce welterweights, Tyron Woodley, pretty much a front runner. Evangelista Santos, Cyborg Santos. Paul Daly's still up there. Safadine's definitely up there. Bobby Volker put his name up there as well. So it's really I mean, Woodley looks like the guy to win the Strikeforce welterweight title if the Strikeforce doesn't get folded into the UFC. Yeah, next fight after that we have Tyron Woodley versus Paul Syntax Daly, and Woodley winning by unanimous decision. Daly definitely got that 3rd round. He really impressed me. Showed great takedown defense. I mean, he would pummel under a lot of times when he's against the cage. He would actually press Woodley against the cage too. I thought that was really good. The one thing with Daly is he throws a lot of hooks. The uppercut was a good idea, and the knees were a good idea, but I think there was one time where he threw a really sloppy knee, and Woodley just tried to take him down from that. He definitely couldn't find the mark though. Like sometimes he just knee too early, he'd uppercut too early, as Woodley's shooting in. Daly's best weapon's left hook. The problem is a lot of people want to duck under that left hook. Daly looked really good in the 3rd round though, man. One thing that really stood out to me, especially in the third round, is the point where Tyron Woodley was on the ground on 2 knees. And I'm an advocate, actually, for knees to grounded opponent that is on, like, I want to see grounded, meaning on your back or on your stomach. If you're on your knees and you can't knee the guy in the head, I mean, that could have made the difference from Paul Daly winning the fight and him losing the fight. Daly would stuff a takedown. Well, you can't knee the guy in the head, on the sprawl. It kind of sucks. This is one of those cases where I like up kicks to grounded opponent. I think that should be allowed, and knees to grounded opponent who's on his knees. It'd be such a fight changer. I mean, right now, I keep saying this, MMA favors the wrestler, and the more tools you give to non-wrestlers, the more you even out the playing field. I did like that Daly. The other thing I like about Daly when he's on the ground, he didn't take like any damage really. I mean, I kind of wish he opened up his guard a little more. The ending sequence where he went for the omoplata was pretty awesome, though. I thought that was really cool, really slick from Daly. It's cool to see him evolve. It's like, wow, he's actually evolving. Woodley, I liked his striking. He's definitely a front runner to win the Strikeforce welterweight championship. Where would I put him in the welterweight spectrum right now, though? I'd put him with like like Rick Story, Charlie Brennan, Mike Pierce, Johnny Hendrick, Brian Foster, Anthony Johnson, just those Rory McDonald, just those guys that are coming up that are going to be like the future of the division. I kind of put him there. I don't put him with like a Koscheck or Fitch or anyone like that. There's still holes in Woodley. It's good to see some striking from him. He threw some overhands, some stuff actually connected too. So that was really good. I still get the feeling that he's either striking or he's wrestling, but he's not doing both. He's not transitioning to both yet. And it looks like he'll get there. He's naturally athletic. That's the thing. So he definitely has fast twitch muscles. I mean, he's a really quick guy. So yeah, I can definitely see Woodley still improving. But I was impressed by Daly's evolution. Next fight after that, Tim Kennedy beat Robbie Lawler by unanimous decision. There was a point in the third round where like Robbie Lawler would corner Tim Kennedy. He pretty much had him against the fence, and he wouldn't throw any strikes. He would just he'd stalk forward and make Kennedy backpedal, but then he'd like kind of dance and check and jive his shoulders. I mean, it was just like in order for him to win, he needed to throw some strikes, and I didn't really see him do that for some reason. He was really hesitant. He was really tentative for some reason. I think he's worried about the takedown. I'm always impressed with Kennedy. He likes to really force takedowns. He's a bull when it comes to it. I mean, he'll miss a takedown, and he'll just keep pushing forward and forward. The uppercut that Lawler did on Kennedy, oh man, it was so close to knocking him out. I mean, it hit his nose, but it's not enough. This is another case, with Lawler. It's like, you're so used to knocking people out. Where's your jab? Where's your straight punches? So you don't get taken down so easily. Make him shoot from super far away. As I know with Kennedy, he's going to be fighting Jacare next, according to what they were saying on the show. Can't see Kennedy beating Jacare. What's he going to do? Force a takedown, get Jacare to the ground where Jacare wants to be? Seriously. Yeah, Kennedy stays really busy from the top. He'll throw a lot of ground and pound, but Jacare, this is a world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. I think that I'm not too impressed with Kennedy's stand-up. It's good, but it's not great. As Jacare showed in their last fight, Jacare does have the better stand-up than Kennedy. So I'd have Jacare in a rematch. Okay, next fight after that, we had Miesha Tate defeating Marloes Coenen by arm triangle in the 4th round. You know, Marloes was actually beating Tate on the stand-up. You know, I want to go back to the, you know, throw more jabs. This girl is clearly trying to wrestle you. You know, you are taller than this girl. You know, taller person, long limbs. Good idea to use a jab. You know, you know, I didn't take into account that. I mean, I took into account that Coenen would get taken down. She really allows herself to get taken down. She doesn't have good takedown defense. She doesn't really pummel under when she's against the cage. She's like no sprawl. The 2nd round, she definitely had Miesha Tate in trouble by taking her back. You know, she just couldn't get that choke in. I think Coenen's just way too content to stay on her back too many times. Yeah, she beat Liz Carmouche. She beat Sarah Kaufman. Honestly, I would take Sarah Kaufman to beat Marloes Coenen in a rematch, personally. I'd like to see Coenen try and get back to her feet more. One of the other problems with a lot of people fighting wrestlers is that they want to fight with a closed guard, and I don't get the idea of the open your guard. I mean, so, the other thing is, too, a lot of these wrestlers don't even look like they're trying to pass their guard to begin with. You know, it surprised me how little people want to. Some opponents against wrestlers don't open their guard. They don't pummel under and try to get underhooks while underground to get back up. I mean, it's really hard against a wrestler who like pins your arms down. I've actually rolled with a wrestler and he pretty much pinned my arms down. I had nothing to do. I couldn't really do much against him. He wouldn't give me much. And that actually segues to another point. I mean, that Miesha Tate, for a lot of times, was just kind of laying praying until that 4th round, which she got that arm triangle choke, which really surprised me. I didn't think that Miesha Tate would finish Coenen. I didn't think she'd finish her by submission. I honestly thought that the layoff would take a little more from Tate. I think the thing is, though, if you're not working too much from the bottom and the girl's on top, you're not going to waste, and you're not defending takedowns that well. You know, Tate's not wasting this immense amount of energy trying to take Coenen down or staying on top, you know. Coenen's not that busy from the bottom. Like, she seems like she wants to find that opening so bad, but like Tate wouldn't give it to her. You know, she's kind of laying on her. I think Sarah Kaufman, if she fights Miesha Tate, I think Sarah Kaufman's going to just light her up. Sarah Kaufman has a really good sprawl. She's very hard to take down. She's very strong. She's really good in the clinch. And her stand-up is just so much better than Miesha Tate's. I remember it. I don't see it being that much different than their first fight. I think Kaufman's just going to light her up on the feet. Tate's going to try for some takedowns. Fail the takedowns. Kaufman's going to sprawl. Tate might get one takedown. I can see Kaufman maybe getting back to her feet. You know. But for the most part, I think Kaufman is definitely Miesha Tate's kryptonite. And now we get to the main event as Dan Henderson beat Fedor Emelianenko by TKO in the 1st round. I don't know what Fedor's doing. Just charging forward like a bull and throwing haymakers. He got hit a lot. Yeah, he managed to get Henderson a couple times. And the finishing sequence where Fedor got Henderson dropped into the ground is really good. But once again, it's like Fedor was just so sloppy. I mean, he was just pounding the guy. You know, it was... You know, there's no sense of position here. It's just pound, pound, pound. And I was just like, well, you left so much space for Henderson to get back to his feet. You know? I'm going to say that the stoppage wasn't bad. Okay, it wasn't a bad stoppage. I do personally find that it was an early stoppage. The indicator, I mean, I'm going to use Daly versus Nick Diaz as an example of, okay, well, Diaz got dropped, onto his stomach and face. He seemed to have lied there for like, half a second or so, and then he got his senses back. The fight got to continue. Okay, Fedor got dropped. Okay, I think Dan hit him in the back of the head a couple times. He rolled to his back, still fighting, and Fedor wasn't allowed to continue. Different judges obviously will do different things. It wasn't, like I said, it's not a bad stoppage. I just personally feel it was a bit early. I think Fedor was still fighting. I think in a main event of this caliber, I just think that you kind of have to let it go a little more. The thing is also with Fedor, 3 losses in a row, all finishes. What do you do? Does he retire? The fact of the matter is, I can still see Fedor beating. He's fighting top heavyweights. He's fighting top guys. I can see him beating like middle of the pack guys. So it's not like, when you say he should retire, is it because he's losing to the top guys? I think it's more of a case of like, well, if he's losing to a lot of lesser heavyweights and just lesser fighters, then yeah, he should definitely hang it up. But if you're just losing to top guys, I don't know if that's really the case. He wasn't even really out. It's not like he's getting KO'd left and right like Krokop, Vanderlei Silva, or Chuck Liddell. It's not the same thing. I don't think he should retire. I think you should give him a step down in competition. That's all. With Henderson, should he, his contract's up apparently. Does he stay in Strikeforce? He is the champion, or go to the UFC. As you know, 2 champions so far in Strikeforce have exited Strikeforce. When they were still champion, Nick Diaz is now a part of the UFC roster. And then Overeem has been cut from the UFC, from Strikeforce, and he is the champion. So it kind of seems like Strikeforce is going to eventually fold into the UFC. I can see that the UFC wanting to sign Henderson. I'd like to see him in Strikeforce. I think that there's some fights out there like Gegard Mousasi. If he's willing to fight King Mo, that'd be really cool. OSP is definitely coming up the ranks. So there's still really good fights for him. There's great fights for him in the UFC. I've always wanted to personally see Dan Henderson versus Rashad Evans. For some reason, that fight has always just appealed to me. It does amaze me that Dan Henderson can fight as well as he does at 40 years old. Doesn't seem. He's getting dropped a little more. He did get dropped by Feijiao. Got dropped by Fedor, but he's definitely a veteran. It just amazed me that he still fights at a relatively high level at his age. Really impressive win by Henderson. It wasn't a bad stoppage. I do feel it's just a little early. That's all. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for my post-fight analysis for Strikeforce Fedor versus Henderson. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you very much.